New York City was a concrete jungle, where only the strongest survived. At the very top of this ruthless corporate world sat Donovan Hayes, the CEO of Hayes Industries, a man feared by his employees, and respected only for his wealth. Ruthless, arrogant, and utterly merciless, Donovan had built his empire through cutthroat tactics and an unrelenting thirst for power. In his mind, there were two kinds of people: the winners like himself, and the expendable workers, who made his empire run. One of those workers was a quiet, unassuming janitor named Samuel Reed. Every evening, after the corporate elite left their pristine offices, Samuel moved through the towering glass building, mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and ensuring everything was spotless for the next day's hustle. No one paid him any mind, least of all Donovan. To him, janitors were invisible. They were people who had failed in life, who lacked the intelligence or ambition to be more than mere cleaners. But Donovan had no idea who Samuel really was. Years ago, Samuel Reed had been a financial genius, a hedge fund manager whose insights had made millions for those smart enough to listen. He had built a portfolio that rivaled the best in Wall Street. But the higher you rise, the harder you fall. Betrayed by a business partner, falsely accused of insider trading, and stripped of his fortune, Samuel lost everything overnight. His assets were seized, his reputation was destroyed, and his so-called friends abandoned him. Determined to survive, Samuel refused to let the world break him. He took the first job he could find as a janitor at Hayes Industries. Most people would have called it rock bottom. Samuel called it his vantage point. Because in the shadows, behind the hum of office gossip and carelessly discarded documents, Samuel was listening, watching, learning, and he was waiting for his moment. Donovan, drunk on power, had begun making reckless financial decisions. His latest scheme, a high-stakes merger that would make him billions but at the cost of laying off hundreds of employees. He didn't care. To him, people were numbers. Employees were assets to be used and discarded. One evening, as Samuel was cleaning the executive floor, he overheard Donovan discussing the merger with his top advisors. They were laughing about the layoffs, making cruel jokes about the employees who would soon be out of work. But more importantly, Samuel caught something else: Donovan had been manipulating stock prices, engaging in fraudulent practices that could bring the entire company crashing down. Samuel had two choices: turn a blind eye, or do something about it. That night, Samuel made a call to an old friend, a journalist, who had once covered his downfall and believed in his innocence. "Meet me tomorrow," Samuel said. "I have something that will shake the corporate world to its core." The next morning, while Donovan was in the middle of a press conference about the merger, the first article hit the news. Billionaire CEO Donovan Hayes under investigation for fraud. Within minutes, the stock price began to plummet. Investors panicked. Board members whispered among themselves. But the real bombshell came when the FBI agents arrived. Donovan, still oblivious to who had orchestrated his downfall, stood in shock as federal agents walked through the doors of Hayes Industries. "Mr. Hayes," one of them announced, "you're under arrest for financial fraud, stock manipulation, and obstruction of justice." As Donovan was being led away in handcuffs, his furious eyes scanned the room, and then he saw him. Samuel, the janitor, standing at the back, arms crossed, watching with the smallest smirk on his lips. Recognition dawned in Donovan's eyes. "You," he whispered. Samuel stepped forward, surprised. He asked, his voice calm, steady, "You should be. You spent years underestimating the people around you. You thought power made you untouchable. But in the end, it wasn't a CEO or a board member who took you down. It was the janitor." The entire room fell silent as Donovan was dragged out. In the weeks that followed, Hayes Industries underwent massive changes. The corrupt board members were removed, and a new leadership took over. The merger was canceled, saving thousands of jobs. But most shocking of all, Samuel Reed was named as the new financial consultant to help rebuild the company. A former titan of Wall Street, reduced to a janitor, had risen again. Not with money, not with power, but with patience, intelligence, and karma on his side, and the world would never forget his name again.